Hi, I'm Mark Gaylor and I'm a Sony Digital Imaging Ambassador. This is my video tutorial which takes a look at the Switch Vertical Horizontal AF Area menu option. Now this is one in a series of over 30 video tutorials in my A to Z menu series. If this is not learning resources enough, you can download a 600 or 700 page ebook for your late model camera from my Sony Alpha support channel. Just head over to patreon.com/Mark Gaylor. While you're over there, you could also watch over 30 hours of video seminars, also download some of the raw files from my lens and camera reviews, and also a camera setup file for your late model Alpha camera. Now let's take a look at the Switch Vertical Horizontal AF Area menu option. It's a bit of a mouthful. It was further abbreviated on older Sony Alpha cameras to SWIT AF Area. Now that had a few Alpha owners scratching their heads, including me, as to what this new menu item was all about. So I'm going to try and explain this. By default, the Switch Vertical Horizontal AF Area is in the off position. This means that if we move a spot focus area into the upper right side of the frame, when we rotate the camera, the spot AF area is going to move into the same relative position and will now appear in the bottom right of the frame. So if you're constantly switching between vertical and horizontal positions with your camera, you're going to be constantly moving that focus point around into the more appropriate area for the subject that you're photographing. So if we started with the camera in the vertical orientation and moved the focus point to the top right, if we rotate the camera clockwise into horizontal orientation, the focus point will now appear in the bottom right of the screen. Now if we start with the camera in horizontal orientation and move the focus point to the top right, when we rotate the camera anti-clockwise, the focus point is now going to be top left. You can see this is going to get slightly annoying because we're constantly moving the focus point if we're constantly switching between horizontal and vertical orientations. Sony really has you covered with this menu option, and it is off by default, so I would recommend that you switch it on. When you go over to the focus menu, you're going to look for that Switch Vertical Horizontal AF Area. Now the option I've chosen is AF Point plus AF Area. There is an option for AF Point only. Now point refers to the position on the screen, but if you're also switching between spot and zone, then AF Point and AF Area is maybe the option that you would prefer to be using. Now if you own one of the dual card cameras, you're going to be moving the focus point around on your screen using the multi-selector, sometimes referred to as the joystick. Now if you own one of the smaller compact cameras that don't have a multi-selector, then you need to be able to move the focus area around the screen by pressing the center button. Now what you'll see when you first press that center button, you'll see the select focus point on off. So this means that we can then move the focus area. Now this is not going to be possible if you reassign that center button to another function. So if you're going to follow this workflow, you just want to go into the setup menu, look for custom key dial settings, and make sure you do have that center button set to focus standard. Now while we're there, we could also check out the focus area color. In this video tutorial, you'll see that I've moved the focus color from white to red and then red to white. So if red is your preference, just remember that that is an option on a late model Alpha camera. So let's take a look at what happens when we've switched the vertical horizontal AF area to the on position. Because I'm photographing someone where their face or head is in the upper part of the frame, I've moved the zone focus area to that upper part of the frame. If I rotate the camera into vertical orientation, that zone focus area is going to appear at first in the center of the screen. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move the focus area, the zone focus area, into the upper part of the frame. So it's still looking at the head and face. This makes sure that I'm always triggering the face recognition, and always the IAF will basically clock in. If that focus area is in the center part of the frame, there's always the risk that the head and eye may not be acquired by the subject recognition. So when I rotate the camera back to horizontal orientation, the camera now remembers that the focus area was in the upper part of the frame. Now, if that vertical horizontal AF area was in the off position, it would now appear on the right side of the frame, and again possibly miss the head and also risk missing the IF from kicking in. When I rotate the camera back to vertical orientation, the camera will remember that that zone focus area was in the upper part of the frame. I don't have to move that from the center again, it just remembers that that's where I preferred that focus area. So now I can quickly move between horizontal and vertical orientations. Same is true as if I'm using an expand spot focus area. Here again I've moved it above the center of the frame and slightly over to the right. And as I move around to vertical orientation, because this is the first time I've used the spot will appear in the center of the frame. So again, I'll have to move that to the upper right side of the frame. Now, when I move back to horizontal orientation, the AF point and AF area is remembered because I've enabled this setting. Let's take a look at just one more portrait before I move on. Again, moving it to the upper right side. Again, when I move into vertical orientation, because if that's the last time I was using the vertical orientation, I was moving the spot focus area to the upper right, it remembers that's where I prefer that spot. So again, this means that I'm not going to be chasing a subject around with that spot focus point all of the time. I can move now between horizontal and vertical orientations, and the spot focus area will always be in the appropriate position on the screen. This is such a useful feature that I actually program them into my memory recalls. I just have to, before registering the memory recall, make sure that the spot focus area is in the lower center portion of the frame for all orientations, and then I'll register that memory recall. This means that when I'm using F11 in landscape or urban landscapes, I'm always maximizing the depth of field by avoiding focusing on something in the distance. This is part of my memory recall. Now I have memory recalls for portraits on number 1 on the shoot mode dial, action settings on number 2, and landscape settings on number 3. I call this my PAL workflow, and it's really the recipe for successful shooting. And it means that I avoid ever missing a shot because I've always got the appropriate camera settings for one of those 3 genres. I may need to change 1 or 2 settings, but I'm always going to grab the shot with the initial setup. It just means that I might prefer a slightly different aperture or slightly different shutter speed to the default settings that I'm recalling for 1, 2 and 3 on the shoot mode dial. Now I outline these workflows in my 600 and 700 page ebooks, so just head over to the patreon.com/Mark Gaylor support channel to access those ebooks, the camera setup files and all of those video seminars. I'm Mark Gaylor, Sony Digital Imaging Ambassador, and I'll catch you online or on Patreon next time.